I'm so glad you could come today. This is a poetry celebration dedicated to Elgin. It's a Valentine. And I'm Gareth Mann on behalf of the Elgin Poet Laureate Project. I'm going to start with a short poem. Elgin is like a poem, organically growing and changing, being written and rewritten, each time becoming a little better than the draft before. I cherish the process of finding new words, as this poem makes my heart sing. Now we're going to hear from Joy Wener.
I better unmute, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was only one of 8 million in the naked city. I was a fish gone belly up in Hollywood. I was a little fish in a big pond in Minneapolis. But here in Elgin, I am a big fish in a little pond. But wait, Elgin is no pond. She's a living, rolling waterfall of creative arts, of schools and colleges, of lakes and of forest preserves. Home to a world-renowned library, a symphony as in no other. Home to a rich history of slaves and freemen riding boxcars to its banks, of migrants and immigrants arriving with new hopes. A sanctuary city. And lo, she has become my sanctuary, my safe place. And I place myself here, a big fish swimming the currents as I let my friends and the fox carry me along.
Thank you, Joy. Lovely. Everybody's going like this. All right, like we're in a real poetry slam. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, Marcia.
A river named Fox. Fox kits play along the Fox play along the shore, rolling off rocks and through early prairie grass. Turtles gather, creating an island of their very own, as their shells glisten in the sunlight. Trees change to a flaming brilliance as summer breezes transition to forceful winds, causing the leaves to fall. Bald eagles travel the air currents above, looking for a meal, while a lone coyote stands in the middle of frozen water, observed from the river room of the library, the heart of the diversity of a city's quilted community in Elgin.
Thank you so much. Marcia, as you may or may not know, is a visual artist, and her poetry very often shows that type of visual sense of what she puts down on paper in terms of words. All right, the next poet we're going to hear from is Elizabeth King. I was very delighted to have met her not very recently, and she showed up at Poetry last week, and I said, hey, how'd you like to write a poem? And she said, okay, I will. So I'm delighted to welcome you, Elizabeth.
Thank you. My poem is entitled Jewel of the Fox. Walk through a glen, spot pretty lichen, or listen to the lark down at Trout Park. Butterflies sing in spring, happy to take wing, or follow a wren in bluff spring fen. Even bald eagles roost, watching the river with Proust. Nearby, there used to be a dairy at Gale Borden Library. Ambling along the river's edge, pause by the growing sedge, not too far off is Highland, near Walton Island. Mesmerized at the waterfall or at the hypnotic music hall, sit and listen in a pergola orchestra. Take a promenade stroll in woods, a trail or knoll, or find a landmark at Wing or Lord's Park. bike the river trail, or take a little sail. Deer, finches, Cooper's hawks, all along the River Fox.
Thank you. That is so heartwarming. It's interesting how many people bring up something that relates to the river. And we are a city on the River Fox. Okay, the next person we are going to hear from today is Patricia Harkin. And Patty came from Chicago for a really good reason, and she's going to tell us about that. Only she has to unmute first, like the rest of us here.
Well, as Gareth just said, I had a reason for coming to Elgin. It was the turret. Its leaded glass windows, its multiple panes, all the way up from the porch to the attic. We first saw it on a website on a New Year's morning at the beginning of a century, in a new stage of our life, a time to retire, but not to sleep. We came in person pretty soon to see the sunlight dancing through the leaded glass onto a staircase that was covered in gold shag carpeting. And we saw the leaky roof in person, and the mice in the basement, and the ferret in the family room. But we took it on, the turret and the ferret, the mice and the men who came to fix the roof. Just as Elgin took us in, giving help, advice, encouragement, blue tulip parties, a majestic library, art for all, art everywhere, on concrete walls and old brick buildings and utility boxes, and music, concerts in neighborhood gardens, and a world-class symphony. We listened to it as we watched the sun dance in the turret.
Thank you so much, Patricia. My Patty, what's your official name, Patricia, you know. But I was so delighted when you sent me that poem because it was very specific to your Elgin experience. And I think a lot of people do come here because of their ability to find the type of house that they might not be able to find elsewhere for the price.
That's true. Yes.
You know, and it's not just the Victorians. It's all sorts of cool houses we have here. I expect you to write about other housing at some point, guys. Now we will hear from Marilyn House, a longtime Elgin resident.
Elgin love. Glistening water cascading over steep cement embankments. Gorgeous melodies seeping through the air from golden strings, horns, and voices. Luscious greens in summer sliding into its brightly painted fall coat. Small town transposing into big city with endless friendly chatter, laughter, and helpfulness. Broadway style shows and enchanting musicals overcoming the senses. Voices and faces extracted from numerous regions and backgrounds working as one. Remembering a rich past that leads to a promising future. Memories of Elgin drifting in and out of my head.
Thank you. We all have memories of Elgin. And the longer we're here, the more memories we will have. And I challenge you all to continue to jot down your ideas about your memories, because my fantasy, or actually it's not really a fantasy because it's becoming reality, is that we will begin to collect more and more poems about Elgin, post them on the Elgin Poet Laureate Project website, and make them available for other people to enjoy. Okay, Kathryn Long, let's hear from you. And you have to unmute too.
Okay, how many of you remember Gromers? You remember Gromers? Have you been around a while? You remember the grocery store on the west side? Well, some of you who are new maybe will not, but this one is called Remembering Gromers. Head for the grocery on the northwest side. Change your shirt, comb your hair. You'll see everyone there. Old folks drink free coffee in their regular chairs, staying all morning because nobody cares. Stand in line with a quarter for a double scoop cone. It was safe for kids to walk there alone. Salad and soup sold fresh by the pound. Meat cut to order, sliced and ground. Get your light bulbs, mail your package, get your car sticker there. Cash your paycheck, pay your taxes, best donuts everywhere. Dick Gromer packing groceries, no friendlier face. Bernice at the organ made a happy place. Okay, that was Gromers.
That was Gromers, okay.
And
It's
then
really great to have poems about the old days. I enjoy
yeah,
them.
this has been, those of you who are new, this has been gone a while, but it was all those things, yes.
Mhm.
And near the west side where we lived, this one is Wing Park.
Mhm.
Only one street to cross into a child's dream. We could see Wing Park from home. Riding bikes to the swings, just rolling in the grass, the bandshell at the bottom of the hill. Wade in the creek, cut through the trees, up through the woods to meet friends. Season tickets to the pool, ice skating after school, a rock quarry to explore. A baseball game, a tennis match, a round of golf, a brown bag picnic, climb the rocket slide. The children were safe. They were free to create a childhood treasure just one block from home.
Mm,
That's good. So that's it.
lovely. My kids were safe at Lord's Park.
I bet they were. Yeah,
Yeah, they were.
those days are gone, aren't they?
Well, yeah. But it's really wonderful to have the memories, isn't it?
It is.
And you created quite a beautiful visual for us on that.
Thank you.
Okay, so our next reader is Rabbi Margaret Frisch-Klein. I'm delighted to welcome her today. I know she's a football fan, so when this is over, she's gonna head to whatever football game she's gonna watch.
More
Would you-
likely to watch Olympics than football today, if I
Oh,
can.
today, yeah.
Sure. There's a older poem by John Keats about Elgin, and I do not know whether it's about our Elgin. So people who are
It's
smarter.
it's the Elgin Marbles.
Yeah, but-
Lord Elgin's Marbles by Keats. Yeah,
yeah.
he saw them.
Meanwhile, too much open on my screen, sorry.
It's all right. Mhm.
Here's mine. Loving Elgin. I crunched as I hiked in the new snow, eagles soaring overhead, dazzling blue skies, shimmering ice on the water of the Fox. Never thought I'd live here. Once, maybe twice, I was here, out way beyond O'Hare when we lived in Evanston. Camped at Hawthorne Hill as a Girl Scout, visited the milk pail, learned to swim at Chateau Louise, bought lights at Hager. That was then. This is now. Now I am here. I live here, a proud resident. Bike trails, the library, the symphony, cozy restaurants, enjoying a cup of coffee. The people, it's the people that are here. The beauty of Elgin is the people that are here. That's what I love.
Mm. Thank you. How many other people feel the same way? Yeah, the people.
And all of you. I mean, I know almost everybody too.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
might be the newest person living in, no, Joy is newer than me. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to write it and also to share it with us. Okay, now we're going to hear from Robin Magala. And Robin has been participating in our monthly poetry group for many years. And she likes to call herself a reluctant poet, but I think she does pretty well. Take it away, Robin.
All right, thank you, Gareth. I have 3 short ones, so I'll just dive right in. My first one is called Elgin of the Midwest. Raised from the river in white privilege, but there's that underbelly of goodness. We'll take those folks with nowhere else to go, the black ones in a boxcar, and the Southeast Asians too, refugees of that failed war. Capitalism reigns supreme, and money exchanged with the milk. But there's that underbelly of goodness. We grow artists here. Economic growth and growth and growth and growth. Always on the mind, but there's that underbelly of goodness. We move toward inclusion, acceptance, and sustainability. That's number 1. Number 2 is Elgin, my city to watch. The city to watch, that used to be our tagline. I loved that tagline. It subtly connected us to our past and strongly suggested such a hopeful future. Now our tagline is the city in the suburbs. I don't like that one. It connects to nothing inside of me. No matter though, I still love this place I've called home for nearly 50 years. Diversity, that's what brought me here. It's food, it's faces, it's hands and feet. I wanted to raise my children in diversity. Thank you, Elgin, for making that possible. And my last one is called A Place to Love in Elgin. And you'll have to have lived here for a bit to appreciate this walk through town. Home. I knew I wanted one here the moment I stepped in. 2 years passed before it became a reality. And reality it has been for 48 years. We started out poor on Percy Street, but oh, to be near Lazara's. Our second one in the oven necessitated an upgrade to Watchtower Apartments. There, community was found. Best kept secret in town, if you ask me. What a great place for our kids. Finally, we got our own 4 walls in the Gold Coast, if you can believe it. Divorce shattered that, though. Bunked with a friend for a bit where the 2 counties collide on Cook Cane. But then into the upstairs of a 2-flat on Lincoln with a landlord who cared. Quit smoking to save for my own 4 walls, which took me to Schuler, triangulated with 2 schools, Washington and Abbott. But then Mom got sick and I had to have a bigger 4 walls. Southeast to Lavoie had a wood burning stove or 2. Great access to the bypass, as we locals are wont to call the chunk of US 20 in our midst. Oops, married again. For a minute, I lived in his place in Century Oaks West, but we finally found an us 4 walls in North Country Knolls, where I back up to Hawthorne Hill to this day. Sans a husband, but with a house full of friends. Where we are all happy to call Elgin our home.
Thank you. I don't know how many of you recognize all of those places. Who does? Raise your hands if you do. We've been here long enough to know all those places. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do this program about loving Elgin, because I've been here since 1968 and I have watched this town grow and change so much. And it's just delightful to hear everybody's perspective and all the different ways you have experienced Elgin, and better yet, the way you are able to put those experiences into words and to share them with others. It's fantastic. Thank you so much, Robin. Okay, let's see. The next person we're going to hear from is Denisetracy, Reverend Denisetracy. I kind of tracked her down and I was delighted that she said yes.
All right, this is called In Elgin. We were Oak Parkers for 23 years. A mixed race family, we were proud of our diversity, living in a 14-room Victorian with stained glass windows, pocket doors, a fireplace, and very, very, very high taxes. Where could we find an old house, diversity, and lower taxes? Elgin, founded before Chicago, nestled around the Fox River. Here we found a jewel. The summer cottage of a Chicago judge. 5 stained glass windows, pocket doors, 3 fireplaces, a staircase fit for a bride, perched on the second highest hill on the east side of the river. A friend told us we would be shot if we lived on the east side of the river. We chose it anyway. 16 years later, we are still in one piece. In Elgin, an acre of land, a mile from downtown, space for a pond, a waterfall, fish, and hummingbirds. We found our forever home. Nestled in a community of diversity. Thank you, gracias, kapkun. Hello, hola, sabaidi, Black, white, brown, Asian, Hispanic, Anglo. In Elgin, we create our community daily, affirming our differences, listening, envisioning, building relationships. In Elgin, if you care to participate, you will be included. In Elgin, if you invest your energy, you will experience community. In Elgin, diversity is born each day, rising from our classrooms, our government, our congregations, our library, blending and merging to make a living, loving city in the suburbs. In Elgin.
Thank you so much. You like this. And you said you weren't a poet.
I'm not.
But I asked her, she said, well, I write a lot of other things, but I don't write poems. I said, yeah, you can write a poem. And I think that you did very well. And I really appreciate you doing that for us.
Well, the next time we're in Elgin Public House, we'll talk about it more.
Yes. No, it is something though. A lot of people, they will say, I can't write a poem. And once they start, they realize that they can. And poetry is nothing more than concise language, which affords or describes an experience. And learning to be more concise and not having lines and lines of prose, it gives you the world in a different way. All right, gives you the world in a different way. And the more you try, the better you get. And that's what I get a big charge out of, watching everybody grow and change. Robert Witt, who's not here today, had written a poem that was really aspirational about our city. And he can't be here with us. And I debated whether or not I should read it, but we have time, and I think I will do that before we go any further. Didn't put it on my desktop, but I got it right here. Yes.
I just think we should add that this was first recited at one of the Martin Luther King breakfast celebrations.
Thank you. Do you have it? Did you want to read it?
I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, all right.
I just wish we could hear it in his deep resonant voice, but,
Should I not do it?
oh, go ahead and do it. I think it's great.
I would like to hear it in his deep resonant voice. I will do my best. We dream of a city. We dream one day of a city where the founding fathers' vision and laboring for hope and freedom for all people would not be in vain. We dream one day of a city where truth is born out of love. We dream one day of a city where injustice no longer exists because the demonstration of love for one another has blanketed our city. We dream one day of a city where no one goes hungry, has a safe and healthy living environment where every person has been educated, empowered, and given opportunity to have a successful life. We dream one day of a city where all people are heirs to equality and justice. We dream one day of a city where, in the process of renewing our own rightful place as people, that we make a difference in the lives of others. We dream one day of a city where our children are never again stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity because of the inequality and injustice. We dream one day of a city where faith in God dissolves discord and creates a beautiful symphony of love. We dream one day of a city where relationships of respect, trust, and honor is demonstrated between churches, municipalities, police, schools, local agencies, and interfaith groups that will say, what can we do together that we can't do apart? We dream one day of a city where Black men, white men, brown men, Jews and Gentiles, Catholics and Protestants will be able to join hands in our loving cities and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are all free at last. Now, if you can remember those last part, that last part was very much taken from Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream speech. What I think is very interesting about that is that it wasn't a love poem to Elgin specifically, but it was Robert Wood seeing the tremendous potential that we have in our city and looking towards us growing and even more than we have, becoming even a better city, becoming even more caring. And I think that what you have all demonstrated today are all your feelings in that regard and your efforts in continuing to move us forward as a city. And that's, to me, so tremendously important. So at this point, I'm going to ask Joy Wener to close us out with one of her poems.
I was hoping to hear something from Barbara Noose.
I wish she'd done one. Next time, maybe. Do you have one, Barb, that you're hiding from us? No. Okay, just checking.
Like Robin, when I moved here, and even before I sold my house in Minnesota, I became a regular at Gareth's poetry, and I never thought I could write a poem. You can find the world in her library, the bison are in her park. You may find a place to pray. You may find a place to pray. You have found a home wherein to recover. Elgin is my city. You can find peace and hope, beauty, happiness, community, and fun, acceptance, tolerance, and love in this, my beloved city. say yes. And we and see, say hola to her future, her great beyond. Shalom to all my neighbors sharing life on the Fox.
That is really fitting, isn't it? It really is fitting right after that poem by Robert Witt. Does anybody have anything they'd like to say before we take off? I didn't allow for comments between each poem because I wasn't sure how long we were going to take today.
Thank you, Gareth.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Gareth. This has been
Thank
really wonderful.